Hello, remember to thyself be true and to thy finances be true. So, in terms of December overview, this is how my spending went. The total income that I had was an amount of 41,690 Rand and 57 cents. The reason why it is 41,000 is because I transferred 11,000 from my savings account and it was not planned for. It was my mistake of not following through the plans that I made in the beginning of the year and some of the impulse things that I did for the month. So moving on to my fixed expenses, they remained 515 Rand 67 cents. The DSTV access was 139 Rand, life insurance also 376 Rand 67 cents. So the balance that's remaining 41,690 Rand 57 income less 515 Rand 67 cents of my fixed expense. The balance remaining is 41,174 Rand 90 cents. So it is 41,174.9. And then when we move on to variable expenses, this is how it went. Gift to my husband, I did not gift him the 1,000 Rand that I initially planned. And then the deep cleaning amounted 4,950. 4,950, which is something that I did not plan to be that much. And then petrol, I spent 1,199 Rand 92 cents. And then discs were 3,731 that I paid for. Toll gate were an amount of 85 Rand 50 cents. Groceries, I spent 1,769 Rand 52 cents. Then baby, I spent an amount of 315 Rand 94 cents. And then Standard Bank, I spent an amount of 8 Rand 50 bank charges. Time Bank, I just spent 1 Rand 60. Capitec was 27 Rand 70. These were the additional expenses that occurred that I did not budget for. So there was a vehicle test that they needed me to do for one of the cars for the disc, which costed me 500 Rand. And then Bolt was 54 Rand. And then there was also giving. I did not budget for it, but I ended up spending 6,783 Rand 91 cents. And then there was also household that I did not budget for, that I ended up spending an amount of 1,062 Rand 84 cents. And then there was electricity for my grandparent that I did not budget for, but I ended up spending 250. So the overall variable expenses for the month amounted to, it was 4,950 plus 1,199 Rand 92 cents plus 3,731 plus 85 Rand 50 plus 1,769 rand 52 cents plus 315 rand 94 cents plus 27 rand 70 plus 8 rand 50 plus 1 rand 60 plus 500 rand plus 54 rand plus 6,783 rand 91 cent plus 1,062 rand 84 cents plus the 250 that I spent. So overall, my total variable expenses amounted to an amount of 20,740 rand 43 cents, which was more than what I budgeted for. So the balance from 41 rand 174 rand 90 less the variable expenses, I am then left with an amount of 20,434 rand 47 cents. And then debt, I did not have any debts this month. So in terms of my savings or sinking funds, emergency fund, I spent an amount of 648 rand 50, which is less than what I budgeted. And for my 52 weeks, I wanted to complete the challenge for this year, so I saved 2,449 rand 15 cents. So the total savings for this month were an amount of 648.5 plus an amount of 2,449.15. So I saved an amount of 3,097 rand 65 cents. The balance remaining overall from the variable expenses of 20,434.47 less 3,097.65 of my savings, then I'm left with an amount of 17,336 rand 82 cents. When it comes to my investments, I invested exactly 500. For baby, I invested 500, and then I bought also equities for 500 rand, and then for my tax-free saving account I invested 610, and lastly frank was 100 rand, so I invested a total of 2,210. So the balance remaining from this 17,000, if we deduct the 2210, I'm left with an amount of 15,126 rand 82 cents. And then when it comes to personal expense, what happened is for Namibia, I paid exactly 6,000, and then for SAICA, APC exam was the 6,951 rand 50. Then printing, when I was going to write the exam, costed 274 rand, and medication levy costed me an amount of 296 rand 47 cents, and there was an ortho orthopedic that I needed to pay an amount of 1,050 Rand for my hospital stay, which the medical aid did not cover, and I only got the invoice late, so I had to pay that. And then I bought airtime and data for an amount of 27 Rand. And lastly, I bought a watch that was on sale at American Swiss for 199 Rand 1 cent. So all in all, my personal expenses were 6,000 plus 6,951.5 plus 274 plus 296.47 plus 1,050 plus 27 plus 199.01. So all in all, the personal expenses amounted to 14,797 Rand 98 cents. So to this, there was 15,126 Rand 82 cents that was left. When we deduct the balance of my personal expense, then I'm left with an amount of 328 Rand 84 cents. So all in all, the income for the month was more 41,690 Rand 57 when it comes to my summary, and then total expenses were 36,054 Rand 8 cents. I saved an amount of 3,097 Rand 65. There were no debts, and then my total that I invested was an amount of 2,210. So the amount that's left over is the 328 Rand 84 cents. From the highlights, I overspent here on variable expenses, and I also overspent on personal expenses, and I overspent on investments also, but my savings is the only one that I underspent on. So when it comes to the monthly review, the total income is what I got from the first page. So the balance that's remaining is 328 Rand 84 cents. This, we've been filling it in the weekly reviews already, and this, I've tallied everything up from the weekly review. So when it comes to where my money went, savings, I saved less. Investments, I invested more. Transport, I spent less. Groceries, I spent more. The baby, I spent more. Household, I spent more. Giving, I spent way too much. Personal, I spent way too much. And bank charges, I also spent way too much. So my savings, 8% of my money went to savings, 5% went to investments, 13% went to transport, 4% went to groceries, 1% went to my baby, 15% went to household, 16% went to giving, 37% went to personal, and 1% went to bank charges. So in terms of this pie chart representation, the 8% of savings and investments, which is not how my month normally looks, and then the 13% of transport, and then there's this 5% of groceries and for my baby, and there's this 15% of household, then there's this 16% of giving, and then personal and bank charges took a chunk of my money. Yeah, it took a chunk. Until next time, remember, to thyself be true, and to thy finances be true.